The second edition of Indian Gaming Convention concluded recently in Delhi. The two-day event, which saw a huge participation from dignitaries and enthusiasts alike, started with a welcome address by Harsh Jain, chairperson, IAMAI and co-founder and CEO of Dream11.
So, welcome. This is our second edition of India's largest gaming event. And it's fantastic that we now have a gaming event as large as this that brings everyone under one roof. We have the entire gaming ecosystem from free-to-play games to RMG to esports, all coming together under one banner to show everyone that we're all standing here for India gaming, not just for each vertical, but to push India gaming forward.
Apart from tailor-made sessions for the industry, it also saw the launch of PwC's report delving into the contribution of online gaming to the Viksit Bharat journey. Manpreet Singh Ahuja, Chief Digital Officer from PwC, shared some key findings and highlights from the report.
So 48% of the global gaming revenues are coming out of APAC, and India's got a right to play big in that market. We've got close to about 45 crore gamers in the country, second only to China. And by 2028, we expect to cross that as well. Today, the Indian gaming industry is close to 33,000 crores. And as against the global CAGR of 8%, we are growing 14.5%. And an additional 2 to 3 lakh direct and indirect jobs will get created by this sector. So I think it's very, very important that this sector comes together and showcases this back to the government, regulators, investors to seek what is needed for this sector to kind of grow and make India the trillion-dollar digital economy ambition that we have. Gaming as a service is lucrative, sounds exciting, but again has not been exploited to the scale. It's a big opportunity on the table that we've got to solve for. Now the asks from the government is, first and foremost, we need a two-tiered regulatory system for online gaming. And of course, as I said, the self-regulatory aspect, working back with that central nodal body, is what will create the confidence of investors and create dependability of the sector in terms of growth. Getting government influenced on making the investments that are needed for the talent pool to get built up in the AVGC ecosystem. This industry has been very, very resilient despite the GST challenges. We've clearly, continued to drive growth and making the government realize that this is an important sector that needs more attention and needs more nurturing.
Seeking to be a thorough gathering for the country's online gaming industry, the convention featured leading business executives, legislators, regulators, senior government officials, and other crucial players. It also allowed the audience members to engage with the speakers and get their concerns resolved. Along with PwC, India Development Foundation also launched its report modeling the role of skill in online games, proposing a data-driven framework to differentiate between games of skill and games of chance.
The question that one obviously asks is, how do we distinguish games of chance from games of skill? Why? Why do we ask this question? Because suppose there is a game that has been designed which has a winning strategy. Nobody will want to play that game. There has to be an element of chance in any game. If you want people to have fun with games, then it must have an element of chance. The question that comes up is, what is the degree that we are going to allow, right? So that is the question that one needs to ask. And there will be a gray area. The second problem that we faced is that there will be a gray area. If we say 5%, somebody will say, why not 6%? So, which we didn't want to get into. So we took what economists are good at, which is what we call an axiomatic approach. That is to say, we first, thought of what are the things that a game of skill will do, which a game of chance will not do. Can we design a mechanism by which those outcomes are guaranteed? What is the mechanism? So the mechanism was not predetermined. What was determined instead were the characteristics that we wanted in a game. And then we designed the methodology such that those are the characteristics that fall out for those games, which are games of skill, and those are the characteristics that don't, if it is a game of chance, right? And then, of course, you design the mechanism and you explain why that is a game of skill and a game of chance. So that's the approach we took. And that essentially means that anybody who wants to implement this is able to implement according to the outcomes.
Leaders such as Nazara Technologies joined the event as panelists and shared some insightful anecdotes from their journey so far.
Trust and safety is clearly a very important area for many kinds of industries which touch customers, and specifically in the case of gaming, that's a big factor. I think globally, of course, games have put in place mechanisms to deal with these kinds of issues, and regulators have also made sure that they do so. And I think the good news is, I think globally that has now been an area which has seen a good bit of thinking and regulation. And I think India is also well on track for that. I think specifically on the India context, I think there is, one is obviously, as we would have seen in the press, there's been news around GST changes and retrospective GST in particular, which is one aspect which affects especially the real money gaming industry in India. And that is something that I think the industry has been seeking a bit more clarity on, and the government has kind of been indicating that there will be clarity on this, and we look forward to having that. But from an industry point of view, I think we collectively need to make sure that we set in place guidelines for customer safety, as well as ensuring financial transparency and security around that.
To understand the efforts and initiatives of the different state governments and ministries and help the industry players tap into the opportunities they open, IGC 2024 also saw keynote sessions and special addresses from government representatives and officials.
Coming to the gaming sector, we have been making a lot of efforts to ensure that the segment is mainstreamed. It's not used in a pejorative sense, or kind of bring dignity to this entire segment, because this segment is actually the fastest growing segment if you look at the entire AVGC pool. In terms of gaming, we also look at India to be positioned as a hub for global gaming and a preferred destination for global gaming developers and publishers. And I'm sure that with a whole range of incentives for startups and dedicated gaming parks, etc., there is a huge possibility for bringing in significant investment in this segment. While these are great opportunities, as it happens in any segment, there are a lot of challenges as well. We have challenges of skills, we have challenges of technologies, and we have challenges in terms of the broad ecosystem that are required for the development of any industrial segment. And I'm very happy to tell you that you might have heard that recently the Union government has announced that a center of excellence called as Indian Institute of Creative Technologies is going to be set up in Mumbai as a hub, but multiple spokes of it will also be created across the state. And it will be set up on the lines of what you call them as IITs or IIMs currently for technology and management. For all these creative technologies, this is going to be kind of an apex institution, which will not just help address the skill gaps, but will also help us spawn new companies, provide space for incubating new companies, and that's how open the door for creating a veritable supply chain of companies that thrive in this particular segment. Not just this, we are also looking at, coming up with a mission, a Create in India mission, which can help us take this entire effort through financial and non-financial support that might be required for the growth of this particular segment.
It's my privilege to be here at the Indian Gaming Convention, which is a confluence of creativity, innovation, and technology. We have come a long way from being the back office operators of the world to a cutting-edge technology capital. I'm here to convince you that the state has all that is needed to ensure that we become the gaming and the animation capital of not only this country, but also of Asia. What really took me by surprise is I was reading this report recently where they said in the last 2 years, there has been a jump in esports viewership that by 83%. 83% in 2 years is a huge jump. And we are following this industry very closely as a state government. And the government of Karnataka, as you know, has released the first audiovisual effects, gaming and comics policy in the country. And we have also set up a state-of-the-art center of excellence for AVGC lab. And the new AVGC policy that we have announced recently also is to ensure that more IPs come out from Karnataka. Skills, we are developing skills for the sector. We are incubating and nurturing leadership for the sector. We have a physical space for ideation, innovations, and inventions for startups for the sector. And we want to, like I said earlier, we want to create as many IPs as possible from the state of Karnataka.
We are there just to actually make things easy for everyone, including the industry. So be rest assured, we have no such mandate to restrict the growth of the industry in Tamil Nadu. We are there only to regulate it. Regulate it in a manner that while we enjoy all the benefits, including the revenue that it generates, and the entertainment and the relaxation that you get while playing the online game. At the same time, the negative aspect of it is taken care of, is well regulated. When I interact with the industry representatives, I very often, I'm told that they have a very well-rounded code of ethics available. And in fact, I have spent a lot of time going through their code of ethics. Plenty of time indeed. And there's, if we implement even 50% of it, we'll be having an ideal world for online gaming industry.
I feel what need to be done for the gaming is instead of trying to push it into the corner saying it's so, put it too many conditions on it, free it up, make sure that people that are working on it, won't take the route as what crypto has to take, wherein they have to go outside the country, they have to innovate outside the country, rather than keep them here, give them new challenges, give them new avenues where they can actually come up with new sort of games, where you must be talking, a lot of people must be talking, we have to have an age restriction, above 18 and everything. I feel Indian gaming industry should go in such a way that, they have games for every age group, so that they can be more involved, they can be used for learning, they can be used for collaborating, they can be used for making some creative products. So I feel that is the direction that we all should go.
Today, I want to discuss how your innovations through gamification can have a profound impact on education. Emerging technologies such as gamification enhance the educator's ability to respond to students' individual need and make learning a more engaging experience. It also further extends the educator's reach and thereby reduces learning inequality to create more inclusive classrooms.
Among the major concerns discussed at the event were issues such as regulatory clarity and cybersecurity. Delving into these concerns and the possible solutions within the same, the platform hosted several sessions with leading officials and industry veterans.
We being in a federal system, law and order is a state issue. And so what happens is different states think differently. They have their own political reasons, they have their own policies. Of course, cultures also are a little bit here and there. So there are reasons for having different things. But there is a need right now to have a uniform central approach where the states and the central governments are aligned. We should think it in a holistic manner where we have an organization at the central level which coordinates and identifies black holes or the moles which are there particular. So whitelisting is an essential element where you identify them who are sincere, adheres to the policies, understood this thing, pays the taxes. One more thing which is not coming in the entire discussion and people shy out, especially people from my space shy out to speak out, is enforcing or forcing very high level of GST is not a good solution.
Regulations put in place for certain kind of users, it actually improves their customer lifetime value. This is counterintuitive to how a lot of companies think. They think that, hey, we regulate users, we are losing out money. But that's if you're playing the short-term game. In most cases, if you do the right kind of interventions and regulations early upon for the users, with the right kind of behavioral nudges, it leads to better customer lifetime value, because when you show care to the customer, they reciprocate and come back to you if you do it the right way. And again, this is where a lot of academic literature also has to come into play, because right now we do not have enough evidences to say what kind of practices work in what contexts, and what kind of practices actually lead to better behavior amongst users.
When it comes to sort of responsible gaming, certain aspects of maybe defining the age rating, particularly if it happens to be casual games, freewares, free games, freemium games, or in terms of maybe certain time limitations, or in terms of maybe certain financial limitations which must be put depending upon the behavior of the gamer. Most of you must be aware of the DPDP Act and the rules which are likely to maybe come up shortly, at least the draft part of it. So, I mean, overall, if the norms are very clear, if how those norms are going to be followed is also very clear, in a way that brings in semblance of whatever is being done.
Indian Gaming Convention 2024 also brought on stage Ben Hayden from International Association of Gaming Regulators to take cues from global best practices on regulations.
So I think there are two aspects here. There's one in terms of what's best for consumers, and the other perhaps is what is best for industry. And the hope clearly is that the two sometimes will sort of collide in a sweet spot. I think if you are at a headline level, if an industry can demonstrate the outcomes that at a headline level a government is trying to achieve, then that would put it in a good position in terms of a reasonably light touch regulatory regime. I guess that's the ideal, because no one wants any more bureaucracy than is needed. But I guess if you're a consumer, then a couple of the things that you might be thinking about is getting a consistent experience in terms of the products that you engage with and the different companies that you engage with too. So the outcome doesn't always have to be delivered perhaps in the same way, but at the very least you can have some feeling or understanding that, okay, yeah, this is a different operator, but I recognize some of this from when I was dealing with another one somewhere else. I think there's also a perspective that there is a sort of a headline level of care. When we've done quite a lot of consumer research in the UK to try and sort of understand what consumers are after. And the type of conversation you always get is that, well, I don't need protection, but I know someone who does. And that is generally the way the conversation goes. So how do you, as a society, demonstrate that you have a sort of consistent level of care towards those people who are engaging with your product?
Concluding the convention was Sri Jayesh Ranjan, who spoke on enabling India's AVGC revolution, the Telangana story.
So I'll tell about what interest we have in the government in Telangana, what kind of initiatives have we launched, and what kind of results have we gotten. What is the future for us? When Telangana became a new state in 2014, we were tasked by our leaders to identify which are the sectors where the government should really focus, the government should really put big ticket investments, put its money where its mouth is. And this was one of the sectors that we identified. Way back in 2016, we became possibly the first state in the country to bring out a dedicated policy for this sector. The policy cast upon the government few very important responsibilities. So one very important responsibility was to provide high quality infrastructure for this sector. And I'm very happy to share with you that we are doing something which is possibly one of its kind, not just in India, but across the world. We are setting up what is called as the image tower. Normally for anyone who is into gaming or VFX or animation, you require lots of facilities for production. So one thing which we are doing is to provide almost 20 kinds of production facilities as shared services. When we are inviting the world to come to Hyderabad, become a client or a tenant in this facility, they will also expect talent to be available at the highest level. So in this image tower, there is also a space which has been earmarked for setting up a academy or an institution which will train talent required for the gaming industry, VFX industry, animation industry, AR, VR industry, and so on. And we are in discussions with at least 3 top global institutions.
By fostering collaboration and dialogue among key players, the conference aimed to redefine the gaming ecosystem of India, providing insights and strategies to propel the industry forward in an increasingly competitive global landscape.